Hi everyone, my name's Richard Parson. I'm the Marketing Communications Manager for Fudge Kitchen. This presentation is all about navigating sustainability, which I know is quite a difficult thing for small, medium enterprises. Over the last couple of years, we've really had a bit of a deep dive into the sustainability journey, and here's just a few hints and tips and things that we've picked up along the way. If you're not familiar with Fudge Kitchen, we were established in 1983 as a sugar confectioner, started our lives in theme parks all around the UK. The business was bought over from the States by an American, and then over the course of the last mainly 30 years, the business has transitioned to historic cities where you can visit our shops on the cobbled streets of Bath, York, Cambridge, and cities like that. We make a traditional slab fudge from the States, and it was massively popular, which is luckily why we're still here. And then in the early 2010s, after people banging down the door to wholesale our product, we developed a unique type of gourmet butter fudge with a longer shelf life, which is now available in some of the most iconic luxury hotels and department stores around the world. Our range has expanded over the past 5 years. In the last 3 years, it's really ramped up to include a wider range of confectionery, including brittle, honeycomb, coconut ice, and the signature drinking fudge. We're very proud to be the kind of go-to producer when it comes to bespoke artisan confectionery. So we started our sustainability journey right in the middle of the pandemic, which most people would say is absolutely insane for a business of our size to do. But as a predominantly retail business and our shops having to shut due to the national lockdowns, it kind of gave us time to take stock, have a look at where we wanted to be as a business. We're very lucky that we had quite an agile team who were available to start thinking about what the future of the business would look like from a sustainability perspective. And our MD, Sean Holt, who's been at the helm of the business for the last 40 years, really used the shop closure time to kind of start her research. And this presentation mostly covers the things that we've learned over the last 3 years, some of which we've put into practice and some which we're slowly kind of implementing. And it's important to know that, well, especially for small to medium sized businesses, it's not about doing everything in one go. It's a slow process, and being okay with that level of, I guess, that kind of level of results. It's about making it work for you. So getting started with sustainability, really, for us, it was all about setting the mission for sustainability, and not in that kind of horrible cold corporate mission vision thing, but actually really what you wanted to get out of it. Taking some time to think about where the business is positioned, and then also where your drive to be more sustainable is coming from. Is it a customer-driven initiative? Are they looking for you to be more sustainable, be it in your actual product or your packaging, general process, or are you leading on it? Are you making the changes? Do you have a passion for the environment and acting more sustainably as a business? And are you leading on that front? And in most cases, it's kind of a bit of both. And the third option is, are you already on the journey? You don't even realize it, which is sort of where we were. Back in 2019, we were already 100% food waste free business. Our fudge is very unique in that it can be recooked into other flavors, into other products. And about 60 to 70% of the packaging was already curbside recyclable, which is a good step for a luxury gifting business, which we were. We already had a bit of a fairly small vegan range, but we were working towards it to reduce our reliance on the dairy industry, which does make up a huge bulk of our business. The 3 areas to look at are product, packaging, and people when it comes to sustainability, and identifying which in each area you can make changes, and whether it's feasible. And that's the thing, is that you don't want to put your business out of business by trying to be sustainable, because that isn't sustainable. From ingredients to suppliers, when it comes to product, you really need to look at the ingredients, get the ball rolling, identifying which of your ingredients have a higher carbon footprint than others, reviewing the product range entirely and seeing if there are products that are slightly less less popular than others and maybe are causing drag on the efficiency of the rest of your business, and building relationship with your suppliers to really understand what alternatives are out there that won't impact on the quality of your product. On packaging, it's a big one, looking at what the alternatives are to your current format, and thinking about the clarity of communications to your customers. The biggest issue in sustainably really is customer knowledge when it comes to the end of life of the products that you've produced. And people is one that's often overlooked, and this goes for both inside and out. Utilizing your staff or your team to be the driving force in all of your green projects. We set up green teams internally and gave the accountability to those people, but then also partnerships and local community engagement, thinking about charitable initiatives and the way that you can give back to the community that have supported your business. The big glaring thing with sustainability is the jargon. What is the difference between recyclable, biodegradable, and compostable? This is one thing out of many, but one thing that came from education internally for our teams, from the design team who design our packaging internally, to our customers, to our wholesale customers whose packaging we also work with. This is more of a cheat sheet, I guess, but it's something that I wanted to talk about up front and center, because there is a big difference between the three, and not everyone really understands it. When it comes to looking at your packaging and what you're saying, and also where you're thinking of going with your packaging, you need to make it as simple for your customers as possible. And recyclability is, the kind of go-to. It's in the reduce, reuse, recycle spiel when it comes to sustainability. But you have to be careful that it isn't all-encompassing. We've definitely found as a business that recyclability is subject to local authorities, so it changes from town to town, city to city, definitely county to county, and there are lots of products that are considered, their raw material, polypropylene, that makes up the majority of plastic film on packaging, is entirely recyclable, but in the UK it isn't recycled because it often comes into recycling centres contaminated with food product, and there's no way of them identifying it, so it's considered dangerous and will contaminate the rest of the recyclable material going for processing. So it's stripped out. So you've got to be really careful with, even if your materials are recyclable, they may not be recycled. Biodegradable materials are, we almost moved to an entirely biodegradable line of pouches for our new product in the last year. However, biodegradable is a big catch-all term. You have to be really careful because there are no time limits on when something can biodegrade. Plastic will biodegrade over the course of millennia. So you have to be really careful that even if it says biodegradable, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's sustainable. And compostability is the big one. Compostability really means that the product will break down into natural compounds, which is kind of where you want it to be. If it can't be recycled and turned into new products, which is good, useful products, then you want it to compound down to nothing. You often find it comes with shelf life impact, compostable packaging, because the packaging is itself trying to compost. And you'll also find that that kind of packaging doesn't or can't be composted on a compost heap at home. It needs to be industrially composted, which means it's suitable for home food waste. The Office for National Statistics gives kind of a grim look at the level of recyclability in the UK. Between 2010 and 2019, the number of UK households recycling food packaging only rose by 5% to just 45%. Home composting and food waste is even smaller. It doesn't look great. A little bit of a case study on Fudge Kitchen. So in 2021, we kicked off a company-wide rebrand, which in the we hadn't even reopened our shops yet. It was a pretty tricky time. We worked with an amazing design agency to refresh the brand look, but really the driver for it came from the sustainability of our packaging. And even though we had some semblance of recyclability across our packaging, it really wasn't that great. We didn't really know a lot. And we were importing a lot of our packaging from producers in China, and that really needed to be looked at in a different way. There's very little legal requirement when it comes to sustainable packaging in the UK. So guidance was very limited, which meant it required a lot of research from us, working with our packaging design agency to develop the new range. We looked at the reduce, reuse, recycle framework, and the first thing we did was try to remove, wherever possible, remove elements of packaging that weren't actually required if we looked at reformatting the product, and just removed it from the supply chain. Our goal was to get 100% curbside recyclable with all of our packaging by the end of 2021, early 2022. And we're quite proud to say that we did manage to do it, but it did come at some huge changes. Our rigid packaging from China had ribbons and embellishments, and we reduced all of that down to a sliding tray in our boxes, which removed a lot of component parts from the packaging. But our product had to still remain very competitive in a luxury marketplace. These boxes sit on the shelves of stores such as Harrods and Selfridges, and they were among the rigid packaging which was imported from China. So it had to, still be able to pack a punch. And I think we achieved it quite well, having our best wholesale year ever in 2021, despite the national lockdowns still dominating the first 3 months of the year. The next step in sustainable packaging was launched in 2022. This year was a compostable pouch range. This product was great. We designed it in-house. We're really proud of it, but it did come with its challenges. We saw pouches that we really liked from a chocolate supplier based in the UK, and we built a relationship with them to learn the problems that they were having and helped get through the teething process of this new product very, very quickly. Because it is compostable, you do have the added issue of the shelf life. If you ever want to put labels on it, they must be also compostable, plant-based inks, water-based glues. It's a tricky product, and with high minimum order quantities, you really need to think about all those factors. Do we print one product and put multiple labels on as we create different SKUs in a range? We're still working on it, and it's an interesting product. And even though we're very proud of this product and it's now being stocked throughout the UK, you learn some things along the way. One of the funny ones you probably can't see from these pictures because they're a little bit small, but at the top left-hand corner of each pouch, it says 100% plastic-free, because they are. But when you open them, you rip off the word free, and they say 100% plastic, which clearly is not what you want to have on a pack that's meant to be composted. So the next print run is being amended. But these are the little things that you come to find, and you just need to try not to take them too seriously. Moving away from packaging to kind of partnerships and how that affects sustainability. Over the last year particularly, we've not just looked at the products, how they sit on a shelf, but also their component parts. Supporting local wasn't just for lockdown, and we continued that by working closely with dairies in Somerset for most of our cream used in fudge processing. and we did quite a lot of research on the impact of our supply chain when it comes to key ingredients. For us, mainly sugar and chocolate, huge industries that are rife with human rights issues and need to be addressed. But the research really isn't that black and white. It requires a bit of a deep dive. Some suppliers really take sustainability seriously and their responsibilities to it and are happy to share their information and transparency on their operating methods. And in the last year, we switched our chocolate supplier from a major international, probably the largest chocolate manufacturer in the world, to a company called Luca Chocolate based in Colombia, who are farmer owned, and it's single origin chocolate. And we're really proud of the products we're making with their chocolate, the messaging they have, and the work they're doing to fight human rights issues in Colombia. And in terms of sugar, which is our main ingredient, being a sugar confectioner, we made the decision to move away from refined cane sugar with a large carbon footprint to UK grown beet sugar, which was a big change and required testing in every recipe we make because the sugar is slightly different. But we've now rolled that out across the whole company, and it's great. And then with packaging, try and if you're printing packaging yourself or working with printers, really value your relationship with them. We work with two printers, both in the UK, and a third we use overseas. And we have a really great relationship with them because a lot of the initiatives happening in sustainability are being driven by businesses, and the printers are basically catching up. Same with a lot of areas, and they're happy to come along for the ride with you. They also know the difference between PEFC, FSC certified packaging, knowing the difference, and also they are able to stockpile and look after or set aside product for you if you're focused on only printing on certain accredited cardstocks. There is a high demand for them, and being in with your printer is very useful for being able to get that material for yourself. That's packaging and partnerships of product. The next step really is becoming a business for good, which comes in lots of many shapes and forms. For us, it was about people, really more than anything. We partnered at the very end of 2020 with B1G1, who are a giving platform focused on embedding charitable fundraising at the heart of businesses and raising money through general everyday practices. They don't take a cut of commission, so all of your fundraising goes to the causes. We're big advocates of these guys and what they do, and they really break down the mystery of certain fundraising and make it very clear, to the point where they allow you to see individual impacts for every pound spent in a fundraiser. We were committed to donating about 1% of our profit to charity in 2021. By the end of the year, we donated closer to 4%, and in 2022, we will probably be donating closer to 5%. We've embedded it across all of our in-store promotions and our online website. The engagement in our fundraising has never been higher from customers, but also in our teams. It's a really great way of getting your teams to collaborate and a bit of competition between them of who can raise the most money. We run a big public impact report, which looks a bit like this, which allows the teams to see their donations and see where they're sitting throughout the year, not just by how much money they've raised, but also by the number of impacts. And it might be how many trees they planted through the donations, to how many hours of community care given to community support groups. And all of these impacts are totted up against the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which is a really great way of measuring your real impact towards all the big sustainable development projects around the world. There are lots going on. Some of them you don't really realize are elements of sustainability. So the United Nations SDGs are a really good place to start to understand a bit more about sustainability. The other thing is being a business for good also starts with governance and guidance and the research that goes into understanding what's available to you and what we should be doing. Two elements that are quite important to us are the SME Climate Hub. In 2021, we joined the Climate Hub after pledging to join the Race to Zero campaign, another UN initiative, which basically requires you to report on your emissions and carbon footprint annually. We've been doing that since last year, 2021. And the SME Climate Hub also gives you access to lots of information, tools, templates, lots of things to get your sustainability journey moving. I believe it's free to join, and I definitely recommend getting involved, especially if you really are at stage one. The second thing is the Better Business Act, which our MD, Sean Holt, is a signatory to. It is a piece of legislation being promoted by businesses backed by the Institute of Directors to make changes to the Companies Act, effectively making it so that businesses will have to report on their sustainability practices or environmental practices in the same way that they must report to shareholders. So it will basically make businesses accountable more than anything. It is businesses who are driving the change. And as we move into the new year, 2023, it's really critical for businesses leading in sustainability. We've seen massive news stories in the last year, such as Patagonia's owner selling part of the business to a trust on behalf of the planet. And there are a couple of other companies who have even gone so far as to put the planet as a full voting member on their board via organizations such as Lawyers for the Earth. So it's being taken seriously, and it's best to be ahead of that journey, which is almost inevitably going to happen. The other big thing for us as a business when it comes to people is putting them first. And in 2021, we became 100% employee owned as a business, which really has made the business far more secure and has really put the onus of sustainability and the future of the business in the hands of the people that got us this far, which is great. We are very lucky that our business has a lot of really passionate, diverse, energetic, and driven people who are keen to drive the sustainability of the business forward. And they themselves run our green teams and constantly come up with new initiatives and ways that we can do better as a business. The last thing I wanted to share is just some resources that we found useful over the last year in particular. There's a link there to the SME Climate Hub, which is, again, I'm pretty sure it's free. It's a really great resource to understand what, how you can start to monitor your business's carbon impact and set goals for the future. Geeky Zero is a really great platform. It is aimed at personal, individual changes to your life to help impact on global sustainability, but there are corporate versions available, and it allows you to set goals, and it kind of gamifies the projects towards being a more sustainable business. I've also included the Race to Zero campaign, which is from the UN, and you can from there find information on the Sustainable Development Goals, and also carbonfootprint.com, which is a free system to map out the basics of your business carbon footprint. It's a really useful tool and one that we used when we first started to kind of get a handle on things. We as a business are moving towards B Corp accreditation in the next couple of years, and we need to report a little bit more thoroughly. But just to really get your head around it, that's a really great place to start. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But thank you very much for listening and good luck on your journey.